Hello everyone, this is Ronnie from UK Fruitfest and this channel and everything, and I wanted to share with you a video today. I don't know if you can hear this washing machine right beside me, but hopefully it doesn't disturb too much. But I wanted to share with you this video today about the best thing or the biggest thing or the most important thing that I was taught by Durianrider, Harley Johnstone, or one of the things, probably a number of things. And Harley obviously is for those who don't know, but I imagine you would mostly know, he's a YouTuber and I guess a social media influencer, cyclist and all that, vegan, and kind of one of the original vegans on YouTube, and had a big following, but a very kind of dedicated following at one point, especially based around the fact that he was promoting a raw foods diet, he was promoting the fruit diet, the 80-10-10 diet, and he was a major part, I think, in that becoming a bit of a phenomenon, and had a major impact on a lot of people. To this day, I speak to a lot of people that he really changed the way that they ate, the way that they thought, got them into fitness, different things like that. And he had a message that was about, he also had a message that was about sleep and about water, hydration, water, and also the food and the fitness. So a lot of people, he really appealed to a lot of people, but then he went away from a raw vegan diet. To some degree, it looked like he was eating kind of a junk food diet. He was eating a lot of sugar. A lot of people don't like that. And vegan donuts and all sorts of stuff. But I don't think that's what he always eats. But he's always maintained, a high level of fitness with what he's doing, and he's got his own ideas with what he does. And one of his problems with the raw food diet, I think, is the idea that he couldn't always get enough calories on it. Although I'm not sure if that's really the case. But one of the most important things that he taught and that he focused on in his videos was about the emotional side of eating enough food or not eating enough food. And he would always go on about being carved up and having enough carbohydrates. And to this day, it's something that I think about and notice. If ever I shift my diet around, if ever I change things around, if ever I go somewhere else and have to change my diet a little bit, that it's easy to not eat enough. It's easy to forget to eat enough. It's easy on a raw food diet to, get busy with other things and almost forget to eat for a short period of time. And then you get to the end of the day or halfway through the day and you realise you've not really eaten much. And that can happen. But one of the things that can go along with that is a change in your emotional state. And there was one time that Harley was asked, how do you know when you're undercarbed? He would talk about being undercarbed, like you've not eaten enough. And he would say that he started to feel vulnerable. And it was such an interesting answer because there's definitely an emotional component that goes along with eating, and specifically with not eating enough. So when you don't eat enough, there are symptoms of undereating that come up. And a lot of people that go on a vegan diet, especially a raw vegan diet, fruitarian diet, detox diet, they don't eat enough. They predictably don't eat enough when they are starting off. And the reason for that is they're shifting their diet to less energy dense foods. So when you shift to less energy dense foods, you have to gradually increase the volume of what you eat in order to replicate the amount of calories that you were getting from a higher energy density diet, which is the processed food diet, the animal products diet. So it's inevitable that a lot of vegans and raw vegans eat less, and then they list the symptoms that they got on that diet. So a lot of people will say they didn't enjoy the raw vegan diet or the vegan diet or a plant-based diet because of these specific issues. and they will just list the symptoms of undereating one by one by one. And that's how you know that the person simply didn't do the diet right and didn't know how, and hadn't made a proper transition to that diet. But some of the major signs of not eating enough are emotional. One is irritability, one is anxiety, and one is to some degree depression, I think. Why would people feel these when they're not eating enough? And Harley would talk about, and I've never really confirmed this yet, but Harley would say, pardon me, if you don't have enough carbohydrates, then your body doesn't have the carbohydrates that are then used to make things like serotonin, and that's one of the hormones, I believe is a hormone, might be wrong, that helps to regulate our mood and helps to make us feel good. At the same time, if you don't have enough serotonin, then that serotonin converts into melatonin at night. So a lot of people who don't eat enough, they also have sleep problems. And when your serotonin is dropping or is low, because the body's going to prioritize keeping your heart beating, keeping your brain going, and things like that. So when that's happening, your emotional state is not as good, and you can feel anxiety. You can start to feel like the world is too much. If you ever get that feeling like everything's too much, I can't do this, what am I doing, why am I trying to do this? You start to feel really unsure of yourself, start to feel like you want to do nothing. Obviously what comes along with all this is a lack of energy, but it can really affect your emotional and mental state. Now, when you catch that in yourself, and for me that was something that I experienced a lot when I started off on raw vegan diet. I experienced that an awful lot, and I started to catch it, and I started to realize this is just not eating enough. I'm just not eating enough food. I would just think to myself, what have I eaten today? What have I eaten over the last few days? And I would realize I hadn't eaten enough, and it was just a mistake I was making. And that was frustrating because I didn't. It wasn't like I felt ravenously hungry. It wasn't like I thought, I really need to eat, but I just don't want to. It wasn't that. I just didn't really feel that really strong sense of hunger, or at that time I didn't really register what hunger was properly. So I wasn't really registering hunger yet in the right way. And then what I would realize is, even if I didn't feel hungry, okay, I should go and have something to eat. So then I would eat, and then very quickly those feelings would go away, the anxiety, the irritability, all that stuff. And I started to realize this was so connected just with eating enough. And I started to realize as well that a lot of people that go on a detox or a raw vegan diet, they talk about an emotional detox and all this stuff comes out of, and all this negative stuff. And to me, a lot of that is just, once again, the anxiety that comes up with not eating enough food, the negative emotions that get amplified when we don't eat enough. At the same time, when you did eat enough, you could feel tremendous positive emotions, amazing waves of gratitude and things like that. So there's something really tied. Now, that's not to say that covers everything in the world of emotions. So it's not just you feel bad, go and eat. That's not going to solve everything. But I think it's more like randomly, if you don't feel good for no particular reason, in an emotional sense, then ask yourself if you have been eating enough, if you've been sleeping enough, if you've been drinking enough water, have you had any exercise, what's happening with your social life, have you been in the house for 7 days and you've not talked to anyone? It's maybe time to have a conversation with someone. Like, are you going in the direction of, don't want to sound corny, but are you going in the direction of your dreams, your goals, the things you would like to achieve? Are you making steps in that direction, or are you not taking any steps in that? Because that can affect how you feel as well. So there's the whole lot to it. Of course, with emotions, like if someone's died, if your dog died, if you lost your job, if you went from a good job to a job that's not so good, you're earning less money, if you have to downsize your life, like stuff like that can really affect a person's emotions and their mental health. You know, if you've lost a friend, if things aren't working out, of course you're going to go through emotions connected to all these things. If you look in the mirror and you don't look the way you want to look, you know, there's all sorts of emotions that are going to come up in life, and food isn't the answer to these things. But the thing with food and health is that when something is food related, if something is food related, then food is the answer. So if your emotional state is to do with the fact that you're not eating enough, then eating enough is the answer. If the emotional state is to do with the fact you're not eating enough carbohydrates specifically, then eating more carbohydrates is the answer. So, and I mention all this because it happened to me recently. It happened to me a couple of days ago when I was in this state of mind of everything's too much, I can't do this, I can't, like these negative thoughts. But now I guess I've got the experience enough to go, oh wait a minute, that's just the under eating. That's how I feel when I'm not eating enough. And then I went and I realised I hadn't really eaten much that day, and I had something to eat, and I was fine again. I don't know if it will solve all of the world's mental health issues if we go on a fruit diet. Maybe it will. I'm optimistic that it does help a lot of people in that direction. And you can try it out obviously for free, basically. Try eating more fruit and see if it works for you. I think it does. I think fruits and vegetables have got proven benefits to people's mental health and emotional health. So that's one of the best things I was ever taught by Harley, because I've always kept that in mind. And unfortunately what we're getting now in the raw foods world movement is a lot of people are not getting this education. They're not getting this knowledge. So they're under eating, feeling anxiety, and they're blaming the diet. They're maybe blaming themselves. They maybe think that it's emotional detox and they have to go through it and have to wallow in these negative emotions. You don't have to do that. You have to learn to eat enough to help your body stabilize your emotional state. And yeah, so that's one of the great lessons I learned from Harley. You can check his channel out, Durianrider. I mean, I like his videos from back in the day when he was a raw vegan. He doesn't quite make that kind of style of video anymore, but that's all fine. And we did an interview with him on the Love Fruit podcast. If you want to learn from the stories of other raw vegans, check out the Love Fruit podcast. I've got interviews on this channel. I've got interviews on the UK Fruitfest channel. You can find them on iTunes and Spotify. If you want to listen to them, you can subscribe there as well. So I'll mention every Friday night we have Fruity Fridays. We have different guest speakers. We have a little bit of a debate, Q&A and things like that. The UK Festival, Fruitfest, is coming up 22nd to the 29th of July. And I'll be hosting a weekend of teaching about the raw food diet, raw vegan lifestyle. It's very soon, and I'll share more with you about that. And you can also join the Love Fruit newsletter and get some helpful tips about the raw vegan diet and lifestyle. So that's I'll put some links below. But thank you very much for watching. Tell me what you thought about this video, and I'll see you in another video.